Have you ever walked out onto your back porch on a cool, peaceful morning, carrying a fresh scoop of birdseed, and noticed something unusual about the way the birds respond to your presence? Normally, wild animals follow one simple and unforgiving rule whenever a giant, unpredictable predator enters their space. They disappear. They scatter instantly. They dive into dense bushes and vanish into the safety of the trees. But when you step outside into your own backyard, something completely different happens. The chickadees resting in the upper branches may shift slightly. The bright cardinal sitting quietly on the fence simply turns its head and watches. The blue jays stop their loud arguing for a moment and carefully observe your next move, and most people explain this in a very simple way. They assume the birds have just become familiar with people. You tell yourself they have learned that humans usually mean food, so naturally they stay. But what if that explanation barely scratches the surface? What if you are underestimating what is actually happening every morning in your own yard, because they are not simply tolerating a random human? In their own way, they recognize you, more specifically than most people realize. Today we are diving into the hidden world of bird communication and uncovering something truly fascinating: the remarkable systems wild birds may use to identify familiar humans and decide who belongs in their environment. And by the end, your entire perspective on feeding backyard birds may feel completely different. Because to them, you may not just be a person holding a bucket of seed. You may be something much more specific. But before we understand how birds communicate about trusted humans, we first have to understand how they see you. For a long time, people assumed that small songbirds had relatively simple vision when it came to understanding humans. The belief was straightforward. Bird sees large moving shape. Bird decides safe or dangerous. Bird reacts. Move too quickly. They fly away. Move slowly. They stay. Simple. But modern research has challenged that assumption. Many bird species show surprisingly advanced abilities to recognize individual humans. Studies have shown that birds such as crows, ravens, blue jays, mockingbirds, and even small backyard visitors can distinguish between individual people. When you stand by your kitchen window holding your coffee and looking outside, they may be observing far more than you think. They notice patterns: your face, your movements, your body language, the way you approach, the sound of your steps. Over time, they create familiarity, and that recognition goes beyond appearance. Birds can learn routines. They recognize the sound of doors opening. They remember movement patterns. They learn whether someone approaches calmly or unpredictably. You become part of the landscape, not just another human, a known presence. Imagine if a stranger suddenly appeared wearing your same jacket and carrying your same feeder. To us, that might seem identical. To the birds, it may not. They may hesitate, stay farther away, observe longer. Because familiarity is not attached to objects, it is attached to patterns. Now here is where things become even more fascinating. Picture your backyard flock like a coordinated team. Not every bird feeds at once. Some eat, some watch. There is often awareness throughout the group. One bird notices movement, another reacts, and others pay attention. If something dangerous appears, many species produce alarm calls, short urgent sounds that communicate caution. But if nothing threatening happens, their behavior changes. Their calls become softer, more relaxed, more routine. The atmosphere shifts, and when you become part of their repeated safe experiences, your arrival can begin producing a very different reaction. The birds stay. The alertness lowers. Movement becomes calm. To us it sounds like ordinary bird chatter, background noise. But inside their world, those sounds carry information, not necessarily names in the human sense, but signals, context, shared responses. Their behavior tells the group, this situation feels familiar. This presence has been safe before. And over time, something incredible happens. Trust begins to grow. But perhaps the most remarkable part is what happens across generations. When spring arrives and young birds begin leaving their nests, everything changes. These new birds enter the world afraid of almost everything: movement, noise, shadows, humans. Every experience is new. Every unfamiliar shape could mean danger. Yet watch closely in places where birds have become comfortable. Young birds often follow the reactions of experienced adults. If adults remain calm, the younger birds slowly learn. If adults stay nearby, the young begin exploring. They are learning not only where food exists, but also what feels safe. Over time, repeated peaceful encounters become part of their understanding of the world. In a way, trust gets introduced, not inherited, learned. And this process extends beyond one family. Birds constantly observe each other. Different species notice each other's alarm calls. Different species watch each other's reactions. If one group stays calm, others sometimes pay attention. If one bird discovers safety, others may gradually approach. This creates something beautiful. Over months or years, a backyard can slowly transform. One visitor becomes many. The quiet feeder becomes a gathering place. Different birds begin appearing, and what once felt random starts feeling strangely personal. So what does all of this actually mean? It means feeding birds may be more meaningful than most people realize. Not because they worship us, not because they think like humans, but because trust in the wild is rare. Every day those birds choose not to flee. They are making a decision, a small decision, but an important one. They have watched, observed, learned, and decided your presence belongs. That is something extraordinary. The next time you walk outside carrying seed, pause for a second. Notice who stays. Notice who watches. Notice the soft calls from the branches above, because maybe, just maybe, you are experiencing one of nature's quietest forms of trust. And if you have ever noticed unusual behavior from birds that visit your yard, share the story. Sometimes the smallest moments in nature become the most unforgettable ones.